Hello everybody, Glitch Reaper here, and I am finally going to reveal what is behind this wall, so yeah. This is actually a special segment that I've worked with before, and it's kind of interesting. You kind of get to be a bit of a Ghostbuster, because I'm about to reveal the segment of this that deals with vengeance spirits and souls. But I kind of decided to do a little challenge for myself, so I gave myself 10 Hydra Chops, and that's going to be it, because I'm curious, if I were to use this Vengeance pickaxe right here, sorry, this Vengeance pickaxe right here, to get through that wall, would I even survive the damage in survival? Because I will be attacked like crazy. In fact, this is kind of a thing that I've been wanting to just do, just for kicks. So, I'm going to go into game mode here. Darn, this is what happens when I try hitting more than one button at a time to speed up. But don't do that, folks. It's not necessarily good practice. Anyhow, let's do this. But yeah, it is time for me to try to pick through this entire wall and see if I can survive. Because remember, I made it mostly out of dark ore. This is gonna be painful. Do I have a kineticator with me right now? That's something I might want to attract stuff in. Where'd you go? I just popped you. Did you do that through thing? Ah, these things are always flying. I know that I did this just for just for, you know, a mod review, but I really should have put underp hangables in, because these things fly everywhere. Seriously. Please get that fixed. A modder did it with like one of the tiniest mods ever. Certainly you should be able to do something, because I can't spot it back there. Yeah, even with my extended jumps from that ring. Wait, I just remembered something. Wait, it popped up in my inventory and revealed why. Yeah, it's one of those things where apparently it's not rendering right now, so I'm pretty sure Crozer's going to fix that, one of the new updates. But anyhow, time for me to rush through this recklessly and then pull all the items to me. Note, folks, you will be seeing Vengeance Spirits, and they will be attacking me. I'll also get tremendous amounts of fortune. Why is it not doing game sounds right now? Is there something happening that I'm not seeing? That should be working. Just a moment, I need to test if I have something. Give me issues. Try this again. Why is this not working? Just give me a moment. Okay, I'm back. That should be adjusted. Why am I not hearing sounds? This is probably on my end. Yeah, this is weird. I'm not hearing sounds. Nothing definitely has a creaking sound, so... Also, for some odd reason, I'm not getting... Oh, did I leave it on peaceful from having to... No, it's on normal. Am I really that lucky? Oh well, the sounds should come through on your end, just not mine. For some weird reason, it's just not feeling it. Okay. But yeah, this, as you can see, whenever you break the ore with a good amount of fortune, you get a very large amount of dark gems and crushed dark gems, so it is definitely the way to go. And at the same time, I'm trying to show what this section is going to be all about, because, I mean, I kind of did a little bit before, but I want to show a few Vengeance Spirits attacking. Either that, or this really is the luckiest run I have ever had at using this pickaxe. So I know I'm using the right one. Also, because it has low durability, will it be able to get all the way through this wall? That's a pretty good question. Will it survive? Will I survive? I don't know. I gave myself some Hydra Chops because I thought I'd be receiving more damage by now. For some odd reason, they're just not feeling it. This thing has the proper curse. It has the proper curse. As Vengeance 3, I should be having issues, but I'm not. I'm gonna have to kill something to make sure the Vengeance Spirit shows up, because I should have been assaulted by now. I mean, I remember when I was digging up a meteor with one of these things, I got assaulted like crazy. Did he really turn down the chance that much? I mean, I know the mod pretty well, but it has gone through some changes. Does in fact count as a pickaxe. This is what happens when you also are doing some things with Lycanite's mobs at the time for testing. It does show that it is compatible with the ore. It counts. Anything ore. Shoo. Okay. Now. Ahem. Allow me to throw things into here. Oh yeah. My spares. Because I just needed to do that very fast. Oh yeah, what I was going to do to help out with that. Ugh. I almost forgot. I was going to turn on the kineticator. Okay. Attraction mode activate. Magnet my stuff. Thank you. Magnet everything. Man, that works out beautifully. I mean, seriously, that's just beautiful. But now that the thing is out of the way, and I mysteriously have managed to not get attacked the whole time, which I am very surprised at, because every time I've done that in the past, I have gotten seriously assaulted. Again, all my sounds are out. I don't know why. Everything should be fine. It showed everything. Well. Anyhow, I'll get on with the show, and if I have to redo this, I guess I'll have to redo this. But I don't think I will. I think, again, this is like a weird one-sided thing. I've even done the classic thing of turning it off and then turning it on again. Okay. Now, I'm going to go over the basics of Vengeance Spirits, which somehow did not show up despite taking down an entire wall with this pickaxe. Seriously, that was unexpected. I mean, really, why did you not do a single one for me? That was... That was just crazy. Anyhow, I'll go back into creative so that I can show off everything. Again, don't go too fast. People usually go too fast with doing a lot of things. But anyhow. The basics of Vengeance Spirits. Whenever things die, they generally leave behind a Vengeance Spirit, or kind of a ghost, as you saw earlier before, especially when I was, well, whacking things, including the pig. Well, the thing about that is this section is all about what that can give you, because you can use the power of the spirits, and you can deny them, and you can do all sorts of things with them. And this section is all about that. Now, one of the things that's basic to it is that if they are on the attack mode against you, then you'll have to concern yourself with Vengeance Spirits dealing damage normally. That didn't occur, but oh well. Anyhow, there's also ways of forbidding them from happening. Oh yeah, that's right. I wasn't really that lucky. I actually planned ahead for that whole thing. Gotcha. In case you're wondering what I'm referring to, it's something that's been standing out everywhere this whole time. This whole place, I've basically forbidden Vengeance Spirits from showing up. That's right, it wasn't just luck. It was a pretty good act, though. So, if you want to be able to work safely with this, which I already stated was cursed, you can deny that very quickly by using these gemstone torches. That's right, these fancy lights are actually part of the mod. It's not some chiseled torch. So this has actually been there the whole time. And to be able to get those, you need something previously to that. It's called the Burning Gemstone, which has a weird spacing right now for some weird reason. Okay, but anyhow, what this normally does is it converts damage from Vengeance Spirits that strike you into hunger damage instead, as it says here. So normally speaking, you wouldn't be hurt by them even if they were overcrowding you. but in exchange, you would get very hungry. There are ways of course, getting around hunger throughout Minecraft, so obviously you'd probably want something like a Hydro Chop or something else that's a good source of food, but it would prevent vengeance spirits from being able to cause you any harm. Now, if you have certain other things that cause them to happen more often, like for example this pick or something else I'm going to show, then you'd probably want to be holding onto one of these. It just has to be in your inventory. Now, how to actually make it is kind of forget that part, because even though that is a way to do several of them at a time, that's not what I'd normally be showing. You normally use a dark block, and you cook it. A whole dark block for this burning gemstone. It actually has some durability as well, so it's one of those things that wears down. So I doubt these would normally stack, although the special way of doing it probably would. But it is supposed to passively convert vengeance spirit damage to hunger, or at least I think it has durability. I'm gonna have to test that in a moment, but luckily I have a way of doing so. Okay, I won't be needing the kineticator. Oh, that's another thing I should have shoved in there, is some of my other equipment. So I need to throw in the extra kineticator, Scepter of Thunder. Yeah, that'll help. Oh, I can also... Oh, that's also one that I probably should have had in there. Oh well. At some point, maybe. I think I got enough room for the rest of this. But basically, if I were to go just outside, and I were to kill something, then there'd be a vengeance spirit. This may protect me, but they're definitely not showing up in here because I have all these gemstone torches. Now, they are made by basically off of this. You have to use it in a stick. So, yeah, and you do get 4 of them, kind of like with regular torches, but remember these are kind of expensive because each of those takes a block. However, for what they do, denying vengeance spirits from showing up within an area, it's actually very useful. Apparently the radius is 15 blocks. So you may notice that there was plenty around here, but they all got to the wall, and where I was basically mining through. So this created a serious area denial strategy. And then well, I guess I might try that, because there's something I'm going to show off in a second that definitely may cause the spirits to get mad. And that is a vengeance ring. It's something else that you generally use to work this. Now, it has 2 modes. Note this as status disabled. Well, the normal thing is it may attract or summon vengeance spirits. If you toggle boost, you get some, well, you get some buffs, basically. I'll do that here, and then I'll show why it gets them upset later. Right now, I am getting buffs for a short time. Well, actually, it keeps it on as long as the mode is toggled. But here's the problem. Let's say, namely, you get jump boost, speed, haste, and invisibility. But here's the problem. I go here, and I start seeing these guys showing up immediately. As long as you're in boost mode, they show up like crazy, and they will try to attack you. In fact, this would be the perfect time to illustrate this. So, let me go into survival here again. Oh, now it actually selects for different ones. See, it does have durability. The gemstone is going down, but even though they're coming after me like crazy and trying to damage me, it's converting the damage. So, basically, that is how that works. You can get a boost by using the ring, but in exchange you get attacked like crazy. In fact, my hunger is definitely going down, so it's showing just how fast that works. So now I'm taking off the boost. As with any ring, you can, in fact, use this to be equipped into your bauble slots. And now I made sure this time that I actually have it. But normally speaking, the ring also allows you to see vengeance spirits more easily. In exchange, they tend to get mad at you more often. Now, the thing about it is I just used it to go into its super boost mode, where it gets ridiculous in a hurry. But normally speaking, the purpose of the ring, as I was indicating... Okay. Relics, nope. Although I will go over that. See, tools... Nope. Not there. Where was it? I'd like to do it in the book, because the book is the basic source for all this. Like, even if you didn't have like NEI, JEI, or whatever, then you'd still be able to do everything within this. So, because once you have the guidebook, you're pretty much good. Where was it? Vengeance pickaxe, torch. I think okay, maybe it's just in the original chapter about abusing spirits, because that's kind of a thing to deal with. No, not there. Okay. Where was that at? I know it was in here. Maybe it's just under vengeance spirits. Yeah, it was. It was where you normally see the ring. But basically, it is 4 crushed dark gems and 4 iron in a ring shape. That's actually repeated to upgrade it into the next thing I'm going to show. But as it says, you can use that to more fully see the auras of the mobs, but it also makes them see you as well. The problem with this is that, again, as I said, they will basically get mad at you more often. There's always a chance of that, but this increases that in exchange for seeing where all of them are without using creative or, for that matter, some other means to do so. It's not the best way to do it, actually, to be able to see where the spirits are, but it is more easily accessed. It's something you can do earlier on. So this is kind of important. Now, the upgrade is something I've already got in my inventory. It's the Vengeance Focus. This is not an accessory. This has some very special purposes. And I'm going to show that off in a moment. Actually, I just need to get back to creative here because I need to demonstrate this without spirits in the way. And I won't be needing it directly because it's something else I'll show off later. But also, as long as I'm in creative, I will be able to see them automatically. So that's definitely a thing. Okay, now the next part I'm going to show off has to do with how you deal with the spirit world. And this goes in all sorts of different ways. I'll be needing a pickaxe. Well, I don't have to use that one. Okay, that works. I could put that up and just keep an extra slot because I'll need it for this. But this section, these two things go together. You need the Vengeance Focus and the Box of Eternal Closure, which, as you can see, looks really cool. It has this texture that's kind of like an in-gateway inside, where it looks kind of like a mysterious, moving, otherworldly dimension inside the box. And that's because it kind of is. You remember how I said this would be kind of like Ghostbusters? This is when it gets like Ghostbusters. So, yeah. Now, making the ring, you need to use that same pattern around a Vengeance ring. And this, as you can see, does not have a bobble slot. This says bobble ring, this does not, so it's not marked that way. Now, what it's for is it enables you to catch them. It says Vengeance Spirit Freezing Beam. That's not technically accurate, so saying that lore is just a little misleading, especially since I do have personal experience on this. I have caught spirits before and used them. So this is something I have done in Evilcraft. Another thing I should mention is, for some odd reason, these guys, in their alternate form, are forbidden from making vengeance spirits. There are a few things that are, and this is where I need to go into a bit of the history of me talking about this section to Crozier himself, because there was another mod that heavily dealt with spirits as entities, and that was Intangible. It's still available. And the thing is that you produce souls whenever... and the thing is, vengeance spirits are also very much like souls. So we had to integrate the whole soul system a bit with it, and that was never fully completed in either Evilcraft or Intangible, but there was going to be some cross-mod compatibility. Right now it's limited basically to the fact that Intangible souls will not produce a vengeance spirit, so you don't have this permanent cycle of whenever... of being able to keep creating them over and over again or something like that. And that, and just the sheer logic that a soul should not produce another soul whenever it dies. That should be the end of the story. So they are also banned from producing a vengeance spirit. And as I showed, you can have all sorts of them. Now, these guys are special, and I'll get to them in a little bit more, but just know, if you see one of these guys, they do not produce a Vengeance Spirit, especially in their alternate form. However, I can easily see something right now that's a very good example of something to kill so that I can get its Vengeance Spirit and reveal how this works. Now, also note this box has some particular traits about it. See, can I... Okay, so it absolutely has to have a spirit in it for that function. Just checking. Okay, now let's do this thing. Okay, I don't necessarily need these because these guys have barely any health, so... Okay, here's how the process goes. You kill something, and as soon as it's around, it'll have the Vengeance Spirit. You use this to put it in the box, Ghostbusters style. So let's show that off. See, it has a Vengeance Spirit. Aim for either where you estimate it is, or where you know it is. Like, if you have a way of seeing them, you can do that. Now note, it dropped raw Silex meat and some lapis. That will be important later on. Now, there's more than one thing you can use to deal with this box. One of which is you can actually open it and release the spirit. If you do, it will always be angry and attack you. Although, as you can see, I'm in creative, so it can't fully do it. So I can put it back in the box. There you go. Now, it should be noted that although I do have an empty box, I can also do the classic cloning technique, and it will tell you its contents. Like right now, I hit middle click to, and in this case, you don't have to do like an NBT version. You just need to do that. So it's just a little creative trick you can do, and it's showing what's in the box. In this case, entity.silex.name, because apparently that's how it is in the files. But this is the soul that I currently have captured, and it's a Silex. Remember that for later. Another thing I'll want to mention about the box is basically its crafting recipe is special. You need some crushed dark gems and an ender chest, but there's something very specialized about it that I need to give special note about. These are potions of weakness. You do need them to be precisely potions of weakness. They do need to be for 1 minute 30 seconds, like it says. It's incredibly specific. So while brewing, keep a note of that, because you will need a couple to make each one of these. That kind of slows this process down, but that you actually have to do some brewing. Of course, if you find some treasure that happen to work, it will register it as long as it's the correct data. So crafting these is interesting. So that whole process, remember, it's kind of limited by the crafting of the box. Also, it should be noted, another thing about these boxes is you can find them on occasion as treasure with very special vengeance spirits in them. And I'm going to demonstrate what kind of spirit that is by, oh wait, I've forbidden vengeance spirits in that area, so I'm going to have to reset myself as to where I'm spawning. Yeah, I didn't think about that at the time, so pardon me while I spawn point. Okay, because I'm going to do something very special, and it's not something you would expect. Okay, this is kind of smart. Okay, everybody. Bye now. Okay. I'm pulling it in. You're probably wondering what in the world's going on here. There we go. This is going to be surprising whenever I pull this out. I have myself in a box! I know what you're thinking. How does that even? How does that odd? It certainly shouldn't zero. Yeah, you're all completely correct on that. That seems highly illogical, but that is in fact the case. I have my own vengeance spirit in a box. And I didn't drop the other thing. I'll also have to show that off later. But basically, whenever you have Evilcraft, players will also have vengeance spirits. And from my experience of how they move around and stuff, I was able to estimate the exact path. So yeah, that was a good hit on my part. But basically, I have myself in a box. So later on, I'll show off how in the world, what in the world you could do about that. I already have a Silex, and I have myself. So I'll show off how to actually really use this box. A little bit here, a little bit there. Now, I do need to get something more vanilla-ish, because I need something that has a spawn egg. So I do need to collect one more time. And I have reasons of showing this off this way, because this section gets a little complicated. So, and there's a lot of like little sub-rules and stuff as to how this works. So what if I were to... perfect example. A guardian. This would be a good idea. I already have the box down, so I'll keep that there. Okay, so, because I'm in creative, I'll be able to see the Vengeance Spirit, which is very useful. Oh, you have to be close enough to the box. Forgot about that. Oh, worry, I can always pop in another one. Come on. Almost got you. And this attack is pretty cool, so but at the same time, not many other things deal enough damage to kill a guardian in one hit, so that's why I'm using this particular weapon. And he's getting too far away. I can't. I need something that has... One of these has got to be able to let me kill it like this. Chasing around guardians isn't easy, especially when they're on land. But I kind of, you know what? It'll be easier whenever I just put you over here. Actually, I can do it this way. I can just use a squid, because I just needed something that has a vanilla path to its spawn egg for this. Ugh. Why did you have to make it so hard, Guardians? Why? Now, are you within range? Does it meet you properly? No, not again. I keep having technical difficulties with this, seriously. Why? Why am I having issues with getting something to go in the box that would be compatible with this? Well, at least they're more quiescent here. Another one just fell in just at the right time. Seriously, you pop up just whenever the other one was just taken out. Really? Right when I was just forcing the other one in, and you show that you just barely managed to miss helping me out. Okay, that was wacky. Okay, now I can pull this. Joink. Now I have one with a guardian in it. Now, as for why this is important, it's because certain blocks certain blocks ahead do have very special features, and this is one of the big ones. One of the things you can do with Vengeance Spirits has to do with this machine, the Spirit Reanimator, which is a particularly cool machine. It does take upgrades, so... yeah, wrong slot. It does take upgrades, but basically, it's not as necessary to upgrade this as the Blood Infuser. Remember, the Blood Infuser is a very special case. It is required to do actual, like, additional recipes and stuff by tier. This one just does one thing, and that is that if you have a creature whose soul is in a box, and you have an egg, you can do this. You can actually turn it... You can clear the box, taking the spirit out and putting it into the egg, creating a spawn egg. Yes, you can actually create spawn eggs in survival with this. Now, making the Spirit Reanimator itself is fairly simple in a way. You need a block of iron, an iron ingot, 6 cobblestone, and one of the blood infusion cores from earlier. So, it's semi-expensive because of that block of iron. But the fact is, what it allows you to do is create a spawn egg. Now I also have another empty box. So you can basically reuse boxes over and over again. You don't have to worry about using up the box. That's not part of the process. But this, I got the spawn egg because it has a actual pathway to it. This is important because not all mods do that correctly. So it has to be where it routes to a regular spawn egg. This is like an internal file thing, but still very important to realize. So just remember when using this, it's easier to go after vanilla mobs than others because you don't always have the ability to rely on mods to do that correctly. But in this case, it works, and it works fine. So what can you do with a spawn egg? Well, obviously you can cycle over and over again, slowly re-killing them to get their materials and stuff, although there is in fact a better way to do it. Now, another thing that you can do is, few people realize this, but even in survival, as long as you have a spawn egg, you can click on a spawner, and it will convert to that kind of spawner. So you can use this for mob farming, including getting like experience and rare items, as long as you do that. And you can also recollect them from the spawner, so that you have spares for later. So you can keep controlling the spawner like that. You can keep changing what it is and using one of the spawns to make an egg for later. Also, it's easier to store spawn eggs than a bunch of these boxes, because spawn eggs stack, and the boxes do not. Special note, the boxes do not stack, whether they're empty or not. So special note, doesn't work. Now, another thing is that, again, there are certain mods out there that don't have proper spawn eggs. They have special spawn eggs. They have items that act like spawn eggs, but they're not technically spawn eggs. A good example of this is usually Lycanite's mobs. I doubt that this will trace in, unless he's rerouted it and then forced the model somehow. But see, it says unable to animate, no spawn egg available for mob. Well, that's not entirely true. It says that there's the Silex in there. And if I go into Lycanite's mobs menu, like right here, you'll see that there are spawn eggs, but these are special kinds. They don't route through the forge spawn egg system. So because of that, it won't work. Well, you do have other options. And I'll be getting to that, well, probably now. I mean, this part here is a bit more advanced, and some of this stuff actually technically can be considered a tier in and of itself. So it's time for me to do a quick build, because I need to demonstrate how this goes up in power as you go along. And it is special enough where I kind of got to show this as is. But this is another option for you to get stuff from your captures, basically. So as you're catching ghosts, you can actually use them. This structure is overall referred to as the Spirit Machine, although more basically, the special block you need for it is called the Spirit Furnace block, and you'll also need Dark Blood bricks. Both of these are specialized materials that are only for this build. I mean, you could use the Dark Blood bricks decoratively, but they're kind of expensive. And here's why. Every last one of them needs a bucket worth of blood. There's 1000 MB, at least tier 2 Promise of Tenacity, a dark brick, and that makes the Dark Blood brick. Remember, these have to be made around a dark block. So even though you get 4 of them, that's still 9 gems apiece. I mean, 9 gems for 4, so conversion ratio isn't necessarily that good. So again, they kind of get expensive the more of them you have to use. And this structure I'm going to show you is a multi-block, and you have to have one of these to make it valid, the Spirit Furnace block. To make this, you need 4 Dark Blood bricks around a Blood Infusion core. Now, the build itself is special, while that one over here is specific. This one is kind of indefinite, and it scales in an interesting way. The bigger the mob that you're trying to use inside it, the bigger the build. They will always be hollow. In other words, there has to be a space. This is because essentially what it's doing is simulating a spawning of the mob inside, but it never actually spawns. You'll even hear its death sound. And I also have to do this off to the side because I need it slightly elevated for a very peculiar reason. Now, the build itself isn't necessarily going to be that big, but there's something specialized about it. And that is that you can use it compatible with hoppers, because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be harvesting the mob's drops over and over and over again at the cost of blood. So you basically can use this as a mostly lagless a farming mechanism. Since the mob never really spawns in, and it can even go faster than a mob spawner, it's a lot friendlier on servers. So this is kind of an optimization trick. Now, I hadn't actually thought of exactly how I was going to orientate this until right now, but I kind of figured it would go this way. Now, keep in mind when you're building the structure that there's an additional reason why the Spirit Furnace block has to be very carefully placed. The thing is, you can access the structure from anywhere as long as it's considered valid, but the hopper will only connect to this block. You can only connect it up to the Spirit Furnace block itself. So where you place it is important in that regard. So I'm placing it here in advance so that I know it's over something. And remember, as I said, it doesn't matter otherwise where it's placed, because once you do that, you know you've got it working. And you can also check this later, and you can check the whole structure as a whole by clicking anywhere. So I'm going to make a very, very small build to demonstrate how this process works. And this is because it scales upward. As I was saying, it needs to be considered hollow, and it's dependent on the size of the mob that you're trying to farm. So if you're trying to farm a massive creature, which usually has more health and power, and for that matter usually better drops, you need a bigger build. If you're trying to farm something small, and usually has smaller drops, and smaller things it's worth, then you need a smaller build. But you can always make something smaller with a bigger build. So the bigger the better in a way, but it gets way more expensive. So what I'm about to show is something that will in fact work in here, but I could do it with larger builds as well. So I'm going to place this last block, and you'll see a cool effect that shows whenever it connects, the structure has been validated. See, now it has an animated texture suddenly. This shows you the build is complete. Also note, I'm not clicking on the Spirit Furnace block itself. I was just clicking on one of these blocks. As I said, the whole thing connects, which is pretty cool. I could leave that in there for now. But again, if you're not hearing sounds either, I apologize, but for me, I'm not hearing them, and that worries me. So normally you'd be hearing mob death sounds whenever I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But note that I have a Silex here. It works because it has a valid treasure pool. Now, what'll happen is if you have it hoppered, it will take from the area it would normally give these and put them through the hopper down here. Doesn't seem to be connecting correctly right now. Maybe I need something else to do this. Because normally that would work. Well, there's always another thing to check. For example, I can do the whole Guardian thing again. And why? Because I know that they work. Because they're only in a one block space. That's the amount of ability I have to be able to spawn in a mob and get its items. Again, it's like a false spawn, so it doesn't entirely work. It doesn't entirely connect if it's anything bigger. But at the same time, it still has to have the conditions. Now, what's really weird is sometimes mobs can actually technically spawn in conditions that are smaller than the size actually would suggest, but he found a way to judge their size and know what it should technically be, even if that's not proper. Like, witches are 3 blocks tall, but they can actually spawn in an area that's... Oh, was this too close to my structure? That was too close to my structure. Okay. Yeah, as I was saying, they're 3 blocks tall, but they'll spawn in one that's only 2. But at the same time, it factors in actual size. This goes for some other things as well that will do that. So the rules have their own subset here. It is based on the mob's actual size, rather than its regular spawning conditions. I had that too close to the structure. Okay, so this should work because they're usually considered only 1 block in size. So, let me put the Guardian in. See, it's saying that it works, and it's actually doing it. Now, you'll see over here when the items appear for a split second, and then they're hoppered down. It should be very quick, and if your sound is working and mine isn't, then you'll be hearing mob death sounds every time that it cycles. Right now it has prismarine shards, it has prismarine crystals. Wait a moment. why aren't you hoppering correctly? You should hopper. That's weird. Normally this works. Okay. Guess I need to reconnect it. Okay. Are you hoppering now? This normally works. Again, this version may be a little iffy because it's the most advanced version at 1.12.2 at this current time, so it may have some technical difficulties. I apologize for that. But as you can see, you can get a particular mob's drops harvested over and over and over again. And this rate is based on their exact health. Because a Guardian has 30 points, it'll be slower than, say, a Silex or a Silverfish. But in this case, it takes a certain amount of time. Now, you can upgrade this machine so that it has more capacity, that it moves faster, and that it uses less blood per unit. But again, remember that in this case, it goes based on size and also additionally goes on HP count. So the bigger the mob, the longer it takes. This is not true of the Spirit Reanimator, which seems to take the same amount of time regardless of the mob's health. So in that case, it's a bit of a different story. Now, I'm going to do a quick expand of this build. Because what I need to do is I need to let it out a little bit. Because if I don't, well, actually, I might want to prove that it doesn't work in that case, actually. And just show what happens whenever it shows that you have an invalid size. Okay, so I'll put myself in here. It's saying for content size. And then it says required size. Well, required size is what would happen if the mob itself were to manifest and actually show itself out. So basically it's saying, I'm sorry, because the player is 2 blocks tall, you won't be able to actually spawn them in here. You're too tall. The same also goes for other mobs too. Like if I were to try to spawn in a particularly massive creature, it would say, sorry, this build is invalid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this a bit for future stuff too. And then show that it will more easily work now that it's been expanded. So now this build will basically enable bigger mobs to be manifested within it and be completely valid. So, but if I were to go bigger, again, I need to make it bigger. So as I can demonstrate here pretty easily and visually, it can be expanded, but it gets really expensive really fast. Now, also note that only the outside needs to be done. Again, it always has to be hollow. This structure is not considered valid if it's filled in, so don't make it all the way through. That doesn't work. Now, I put myself in. Players do have special drops based on their player ID. One thing that you'll find out is they tend to give player heads as well. In my case, I also seem to manifest a block of lapis. So each player, whenever they're used as a vengeance spirit in one of these machines, will give off a particular item subset. And again, for some other reason, the hopper function is not working. Now, there's also a chance of a player head. That I think is considered a rare drop. So that may show up later. I might leave that running for a little while, actually. But that's one way you can get player heads. Now, there is some other things having to do with vengeance spirits that you can do that's literal in-game. I mean, literally, because you have to go to the end to get the stuff for this. And this is how you can get some items to be really special. It used to be that this one here, Garmin Bozia, could be found as treasure. Whenever he decided to rehash the mod in its progress, Crozier decided to make it where you could actually create it, but you'd never find it again. So it's kind of a bit of a trade-off. But now it's essentially renewable. So if you were irritated before with always trying to find it, that's no longer a problem. Now, the thing is, you have to have a very special kind of vengeance focus to get this stuff. It's known as a piercing vengeance focus. Now, what this is used is what this is used for is you actually can destroy vengeance spirits with this, and in exchange you can get a special item. As well as, see, you also got my heads in there. See, I was saying that it would just happen rarely. So, yeah, you can have yourself in a box, and you can actually benefit from it if you do it right. So, yes, that is a definite thing. Also remember that player heads can be used to go up that cycle and get you eventually up to where they're skeleton skulls. So their value is great in more than one way. Now, if I were to, say, create a vengeance spirit of something, or tempt them into action. You're not going to show up right now? Aww. That was going to be nice. Well, I can do anything, really. It doesn't have to be from them. But anyhow, making this alone is kind of expensive, so remember what I'm about to do is a definite literal end here. You need a couple of popped chorus fruit, 4 end crystals, yeah, that's right, end crystals, a vengeance focus, and a couple of filled blood orbs. Now remember, the end crystals themselves take a gas tier, an eye of ender, and the rest is glass. So that's going to be expensive. Now, as for how it actually works, you kill something as normal, get its vengeance spirit to show up, and then you have to shoot it. Okay, see the vengeance spirit over there. You'll actually cause it some damage, and they don't have much health as a vengeance spirit, but they are invulnerable to most forms of attack. So it's difficult to re-kill them like this way unless you have this. It's specifically designed to do this. Now note that you get some experience as if you had killed the mob previously. So you can actually get double experience and also double drops, like I just got ink sacs. So it shows that you get their drops again. So in exchange for making it where you can't access the spirit to get repeated items from, or to get its spawn egg, you get the ability to get additional item drops and experience, and this very special item. This is only a drop from that particular method, and it is known as Vengeance Essence. What this is used for is, well, that's not informative, but I'll tell you what it's really used for. It's used for the path of making Garmonbosia. So this is a special materialized form, and this is Garmonbosia, the stuff that is needed for very high rank items over there. Now, what you actually use this is you first, or darn lips, how you use this is you have crushed dark gems surrounding a Vengeance Essence, and you get materialized Vengeance Essence. Then you use a tier 3 promise in your blood infuser to do this, because it's literally supposed to be the last tier of stuff. That's a special tiered structure or of the mod. I'm a little overexcited because I do love this mod. Anyhow, it takes a whopping 50,000. So yes, please use a lot of efficiency on your blood infuser, because that is expensive. It's still not the single most expensive thing, as I explained before, but it's pretty expensive. And the reason why is this is some high-end stuff. So, Garmonbosia allows you to create very powerful items. So this is meant to do awesome things with. And note that it also has this cool enchanted texture. So it shows that it is literally the power of spiritual energy concentrated into a semi-material form, or materialized form. Now, as for what you can do with it, well, remember how I told you there was another method of seeing vengeance spirits? Well, let me put on some pretty cool shades. The Spectral Glasses. How you make this is you need some of that Garmonbosia I just showed how to make, and a couple of vengeance rings. Remember how they were used in seeing vengeance spirits before? Well, now you can do that whether or not you are in creative, and whether or not you've got the vengeance ring. But there is a bit of a trade-off, actually, and that is there is no trade-off. That's right. This time, you can take them out without them getting angry at you specifically. So, remember how I said they were angry more frequently before? Well, that doesn't apply to these. However, you can't use it as an accessory. You have to use it as basic equipment. So, if I were to... darn you. So, if I were to kill these squids, then what would happen is I would see their vengeance spirits easily, even though I am basically in... well, I'm basically in survival. but see how I can see their outlines of their vengeance spirits? That's because I've got these nice spectral glasses on. So I can more easily see vengeance spirits now, even to the same degree as I could while on creative, and they won't necessarily get angry at me or more often. So this is a very good item. I guess you could say the one real trade-off is, oh, that guy showed up. Well, that was just random. Okay. Okay, admittedly I was close to the lava pool, so that I had to have seen that coming. Okay, so I went into survival and I got attacked. I probably should have been at least a little bit more cautious about that. Should have remembered where I was. But anyhow, but yeah, it counts as armor, and the big thing is that it is in tier. You have to really wait to get a hold of these. I guess you could say that's the real trade-off. Before I was interrupted by an Afrit. You're not the same one who stole my broom, but still. Shoo. These things are so good with getting rid of miscreant mobs. But anyhow, as I was going to say, there's also some other benefits you can get. One of which is this, rejuvenated flesh. What this is it's basically eternal food. At the cost of using blood for fuel, you can keep biting into this. So you can keep filling up your hunger and saturation value over and over and over with this. So yeah, I'd say that's a pretty great benefit to be able to have. And it basically means you only really need one food item. So yeah, infinite source of food, that's very appropriate. To make it, you need anything that is considered a flesh item, for like rotten flesh. So you can use rotten flesh, and you can use what's known as werewolf flesh. Darn my lips. You can use rotten flesh, werewolf flesh. I think it was also showing the other thing for a moment. No, not really. Used to be used before. Anyhow. But basically this is an infinite food item, so nibble away all that you'd like. Remember to just refill it. But yeah, if you want to know where you get werewolf flesh from, it's again these guys, because they are in fact werewolves. Whenever the moon is full, well, just when it's night, they will turn into a wolf form. So if you're trying to look for an alternative to rotten flesh for some weird reason, there they are. They also give you the werewolf flesh, the werewolf bones, and the special werewolf fur, all which can be converted mainly into normal items. So they're not really too spiffy at this moment, but I think he did have some content planned for them. As for the werewolves themselves, they do trades like villagers, but they're Evilcraft related trades. If I were to, say, set the time to night. Okay, set time, night. Really? Time set, night. There we go. Now he's a werewolf. These guys will come out and try to kill you. As I said, for some odd reason, they are forbidden from being turned into a vengeance spirit. But yeah, you can use their stuff as an alternate path to get rejuvenated flesh if for some odd reason you need to. So that's basically what I needed to do about them, is to just show them off in their little transformation. And when the day it happens, they turn back into a regular testificate. So they just go along their merry way. But just watch out at night. Now, another thing you can do with Garmin Bosia is to create this, the Mace of Destruction. Yeah. 11 attack damage and the ability to be powered up at any time. Now, this is dangerous. One of the reasons why this is so high tier is because it does this. So, goodbye. Yeah, that was a casual click. That was not. Does it show how powerful that is? There's a reason why it's called the Mace of Destruction. Fueled by blood, this thing is a weapon to clobber things with and just blow stuff up. I mean, seriously, I made a crater. And if you were to be in a crowd of enemies, you could obliterate them with this thing pretty fast. It's what it's here for. This is basically, on no uncertain terms, a weapon. And to be able to make it, you need 2 Garmonbosia, a couple of Dark Sticks, and one of those inverted Potentia. So you do need to get the previous tiered stuff up to be able to get this to work. So, yeah, have fun with that. But the Mace of Destruction is, again, just a supercharged weapon. It's not the most powerful thing I've ever seen in terms of a weapon, but admittedly it's pretty far up there. Another thing you can use Garmonbosia to make is called the Primed Pendant. This thing has kind of a unique thing that it does. It says it applies a chosen potion effect, and I think there's no way to get this one in full from the creative menu, so I just need to prep it up here. So you just get fueled up. Thank you. Its capacity is 5,000, so that's about $5 worth, but remember, supply modes help. Hey, you're not supposed to use up blood right now. You're Did I have a negative potion effect on me at some point? When did that happen? Seriously, when did that happen? Nope, not that button. Huh. When did I have oh! I was probably because I was, fighting the, yeah. That's because the Afrits, attacked me. Normally they'd give you a debuff called Penetration, which apparently shows that it is compatible with registering that, which is nice. But what this thing is supposed to be meant to do is it takes a potion that you grant it, and it makes it an eternal effect at the cost of blood from it. So again, this is where having supply modes to keep it going longer will be useful. So instead of trying to prevent debuffs, this one gives you a dedicated buff of your choice. But you have to first brew a proper potion and give it to it. So let's say you wanted to have a potion that would allow you to breathe underwater forever. Well, all you'd have to do is combine them in a crafting table, and then it will give you that effect. Now, do I actually have a crafting table available, or do I have to use this crafting table? I think I'll use this crafting table. I mean, it's from the mod. It might as well be used. But now it's considered primed. It should have been. Hello? Aren't you supposed to do it by having a... Or maybe it has to be empty one. Oh, no wonder it always starts out empty. Forgot about that. Okay. Silly me. It needs to start out empty and then be filled. Primed pendant. That's probably it. It needs to be primed and then filled. Either that or it's because I got this from creative. Really? You are not priming? Why you no prime? Applies chosen potion effect. Book, help me. There's some of these things that may still be buggy, but usually that works. Okay, first stage. I think it's second age. Come on. Nope. Okay. Silly. Why are you doing that? Okay, tools. Primed pendant. Oh, you have to right-click with it. Okay, I thought you had to craft it. Maybe it's that you used to have to do it that way. Anyhow, making it takes golden string, a blood infusion core, a couple of crushed dark gems, and one of the Garmonbosia, which is why it's on this tier. It takes Garmonbosia. Now, okay, so, okay, now he's got it in container form. There we go. Now it's primed with water breathing. And once I infuse this with some blood here, now it will continuously give me water breathing over time at the cost of blood. Now, because I'm in creative, that won't wear off, but there will be some that are darn lips. There will be some that are more expensive than others, so note that whenever you're giving yourself an eternal buff, that some may wear it down faster, and it is compatible with different levels of the potion effect. So that is definitely a thing. Now, you can also click with it again to remove said potion so it doesn't use up power. So, yeah. But yeah, it used to be where you had to craft that in. Apparently changed that and made it a little easier to turn off. I can see why. One miscellaneous thing that I was trying to show off before is this. It's called humanoid flesh. This is assigned to a player. It basically happens when a player dies. There's a chance that they give this off. Now, something in common that humanoid flesh and werewolf flesh have is that if they are eaten at night, they give you buffs. You shouldn't eat your own player flesh whenever it comes down to that, but you can devour somebody else. There is actually a achievement or advancement for that where it shows you become a cannibal. So it's kind of a weird miscellaneous thing in Evilcraft where you're eating people. Definitely distasteful for most players, but hey, it's a mod called Evilcraft. You had to kind of see that coming. Now, there are a few miscellaneous things I was going to show. This is, for the most part, what Garmonbozia can do, but there's something over here that's a pretty big part of it. Note this arrangement. You actually do have to have these dark tanks in this orientation from this block. Remember when I said there was a craftable version of the environmental accumulator that you could make, and you could place around more easily? Well, this is it. This is the sanguinary environmental accumulator. It's kind of expensive to use, and because these are in fact needed on its operation, remember, just the base crafting recipe of these done over and over and over, even if you haven't upgraded them, means that the arrangement of actually using this thing is going to take some resources beyond the block itself. The block itself requires Garmonbozia. Again, remember that it's in this tier, so you got to know that this has to do with spirits and things made from them. A couple of blocks of iron, 4 cobblestone, a blood infusion core, and also the environmental accumulation core that you could obtain by breaking one of the artifact versions. Now, this particular version of the machine is a lot faster to use. It does not have a cooldown, and it doesn't have weird environmental effects that it does on charge up. And it's also easier to move, like you can just pick it up with a pickaxe and all that jazz. But the big thing is, it's also upgradable as well, so you can make it more efficient. Now, you may note it doesn't have an internal supply of blood, like some of the other blocks do. Instead, it draws from the tanks. And they must contain blood, it can't be other fluids. So, they also can't be empty. All of them have to have some fluid in it. It will draw power from them and use it in here. So, if I were to, say, for example, decide that I wanted another bit of sunny weather, I could grab myself another weather container that's empty. Because let's say I just wanted to be ready to clear the weather at some point whenever I wasn't ready for, like, rain or something. A lot of players tend to want to avoid that. Now, it has a cooler special effect. It gathers in power, light balls, bubbles, and stuff, and it draws from the tanks. And note that it just pulled together quickly. It does not have, like, a charge bar up there. And it gives you this right off the bat. And it does have a time that it needs to do so, as you could expect, but it's very quick by comparison. There's just so many advantages to this over the artifact version. So no more running back and forth to dark temples to gather up only the environment that it has around it, or the weather that's there at the time. This basically makes it an item of convenience. You can actually pack up this entire setup and move it around. And note that dark tanks containing liquids don't stack, even if it's the exact same amount. So, yeah. You'll probably have to have a lot of slots going around to be able to do this, but you can, in fact, use weather manipulation and biome manipulation on the go. So that is one of the really cool things you can do with this tier, is you can do incredible environmental stuff whenever and wherever you want with that. That is why that is awesome, is you can just carry it around and do stuff, which is, of course, very cool. Now, one more thing that... there's a couple more things, actually. They're miscellaneous stuff in the mod. One of which is these blocks. It adds in a mob called a netherfish. It's a nether variation of silverfish. They are somewhat dangerous, and they will pop out in the nether whenever you're mining around certain blocks. These include soul sand, nether brick, and netherrack. So if I were to break these, there might be a few little scuttling bugs coming after me, and I think I can go ahead and do that. So I'm going to just go ahead and show that before I head off, because why not? It's just a little bit of time left. But yeah, these are... And note how it breaks kind of like the usual ones do, where your fist breaks it faster. Also note they don't have much health, so even if I wanted to punch it out, I can't. Oh, they do set you on fire though. So remember, they are a little more dangerous than they first appear. Also, because I don't necessarily want to deal with this again, I'm just going to blow it away. So if I can hit that Vengeance Spirit. Shoo. I don't even want you in my box. Just go away. Go away. I'm gunning you down. This is the real ghost busting. You're busting the ghost completely. So I'm ridding this area of the infestation. Oh, that again. Yep, I don't want them to see me. But basically, yeah, whenever you break these, there's a chance that they come out and attack you. So note that if you're breaking certain nether blocks, which is, well, since these are the majority of blocks in the nether, that would be kind of a bit annoying. There's a lot of these things that can be disabled or enabled in the configs, like whether or not those even show up. So if you don't want to be randomly accosted by them, remember, configs are like everything in mods. So, yeah. Now, that should basically cover up all the miscellaneous stuff so far, as well as what you can get out of Garmonbosia and, well, the power of souls. Whether you're reanimating them, or you're exploiting their resources over and over and over again. It basically said you can get a lot out of this. And of course, whenever you get the ability to destroy them, you can get extra special items of great power. Whoa, lag spike. That was weird. Okay, well, the next section is a little hard to guess exactly what it is, so I've left this up in advance for a while. This looks like a weird collection of stuff, but I can guarantee you when I get to it, it's very interesting and a very cool part of the mod. It has some history behind it as to how the mod used to do things. So in case you're wondering why I haven't done a particular item, it's probably because I've dedicated an entire section to it now that's changed. It's no longer one particular item, it's now crazy awesome what you can do to make your own. So, I'm going to go through the entire Tinkered Brooms section next. That's right, if you're a big fan of Evilcraft brooms and flying around on them like a witch, that is what's upcoming. So, yeah, hang on to your horses for that one. But for now, this is Glitch and Glasses, and I'll be signing off. Hope to hear from you all soon. So, bye for now, everybody.